let's try. Cecilia, if you can just put your speaker on, Pippa. Excuse me, everyone. Yeah, you won't be able to do it. Okay, Cecilia, you might be able to hear us, but I'm not sure if we'll hear you. We'll have to give it a try. Okay. Sorry, folks. Turn that off, Pippa. To mute it. Technical issues this morning, so we're slightly late starting, but good morning, everybody. And for those either listening, watching online or on playback, this is the Cabinet meeting for today of Peterborough City Council, Monday, December the 5th, and we'll kick off this morning's meeting as follows. So, not that we have anybody in the public gallery this morning, but if you're watching on live stream, great, you'll be able to catch up. But before we begin, in the event of an evacuation alarm sounding, everyone should vacate the building through the nearest exit point and proceed directly to the assembly point. Are there any apologies for absence at item 1 this morning? Pippa, thanks.
Yes, Chair, thank you. We've had apologies from Councillor Sainsbury and Councillor Moyo, and also from Jyoti Attry and Charlotte Black, and we have Emmeline Watkins and Will Patton as substitutes.
Good. Very welcome as well. We're a bit chilly this morning, so there are people in overcoats and everything else going on here. I'm sure we'll get the heating on at some point, or is austerity measures still continuing here in the council? Probably. Item 2, declarations of interest then. Are there any this morning, ladies and gentlemen? No, I don't see. Okay, we have one substantive item on the agenda this morning, which is probably a very important item this time of the year when it comes round. A lot of work has gone into this, so we have the budget consultation on pages 23 and 24. For 23 and 24 on pages 3 to 36, plus a revised Appendix A as published and circulated. Councillor Coles, do you want to introduce this item, please?
Yes, Leader, thank you very much, and good morning on this fresh spring morning. The report in front of you today includes a recommendation to launch the budget consultation for 2023 and 2024. The consultation document in Appendix A sets out what services we provide, how we might look to do things differently in 2023-24, and our latest forecast budget gap. You will notice that our proposed plans get us close to delivering a balanced budget, a position which has much improved in recent months, I must say. Thanks very much to all the officers who've taken actions and hard work during this period to get to this position. With this work continuing, we do hope to close the remaining 2.6 million gap. I'm sure you'll all agree the consultation document is more visual and engaging than before. It's a very good piece of work, easy to read and understand. We hope to keep up the momentum gained from the budget simulator that was launched earlier to capture valuable feedback from residents, businesses, and our key stakeholders, so that we can take account of this when proposing our budget in the new year. Therefore, Leader, I'm delighted to recommend that Cabinet approves the launch of the 2023-24 budget consultation. Thank you.
Now then, we will try and see if we've got Cecilia Booth on the line. She may be on the screen as well. Cecilia, can you hear us all right? It'd be great if we could hear you a little higher, please, Chris. We're struggling to hear in terms of volume. So, Cecilia, do you want to add anything to Councillor Coles' introduction at this point, or do you want to go straight to questions? Great. Okay, I know there are one or two questions. Who wants to go first? I think always first at the track.
I try to be. I try to be. Yes, I think it's a very impressive document. I wanted to say that first of all, and to thank all the officers who were involved in it, because it really is easily read is the very point, I think, made, that we all understand it. And that isn't the case with many documents that come out, I'm afraid. But in any event, we can read this one, and I think say all officers and everybody involved in it needs to be congratulated. I was going to ask, Cecilia, about the different approach to how we usually consult on our budget. I'd like you to expand on that a bit, or also the member, please. Had to congratulate, but should have done as well, because I think he's been engaged in much. So, about this different approach and how you came to the idea of it, because I think it's very good.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ayres. Yes, you're indeed correct. We've taken a very different approach this year. We've got a different look. We've revised the timescales for the budget, and we've used new methods. You might be wondering why. Well, we've been looking at best practice across the sector to improve our budget process, and we found that many councils hold their budget consultation earlier than we have in the past, and at varying levels of detail. The Independent Improvement and Assurance Panel also advised us to consider consulting on our proposals much sooner in the year. By bringing the timetable forward, it will allow us to engage with the public on ideas so that we can take account of feedback within the final budget in good time. The document has been refreshed to make it more engaging in a way that is easier for people to understand and to digest, as you've mentioned. The Budget Simulator was a new consultation tool. We launched it after opposition members of FSWG asked for different ways of providing engagement with our community. And on top of us, almost response we usually get in a consultation. It highlighted to the community the very real challenges we have in balancing a complicated budget. This is something the Council has been commended for in the most recent report from the Independent Improvement and Assurance Panel. I think if I can close there and ask Cecilia Booth if she's got anything to add.
Thanks for that. I think Ray Bisbee is next. Thanks.
Thank you, Leader. Cecilia, Andy, the budget consultation document, it outlines significant progress towards achieving financial stability and an overall improvement in the balance of the budget position. My question is, what do you think are the biggest risks still facing the Council when you consider things such as the national interest rates?
Thank you very much, Councillor Busby. You're right, the position has improved, but there are still risks which challenge the Council's financial position. The main risk is resulting from the state of the economy. The rising inflation costs are driving up our costs, and the increasing cost of living increasingly puts strain on households, meaning more people will need support from our services. The consultation document outlines steps we are taking to manage our costs and support residents, but it is still a real risk and a very fluid situation, as we have seen how quickly the rates of inflation have risen this past year. We know that the adult social care reforms have now been delayed for 2 years, but this still represents significant change and uncertainty for the Council, as it's likely the additional cost will outweigh the additional funding available to meet this, and we know that the burden on the Council's funding is going up year on year. We'll be keeping a close eye on these, conducting the necessary assessments, and putting actions in place to mitigate the financial impact where possible. Cecilia Booth, can I turn to you? Any additional comments to make?
We have decided that we are not going to undertake any new borrowing unless it is timed Invest to Save project. So we're not incurring the additional borrowing costs that we would have to if we had an ambitious capital programme. And our investment balances will earn a high rate of interest as well, which we have built into the budget. So it isn't all bad news.
Thanks. I don't know if our technical team are listening. There is nothing coming out of the desktop monitors, which is why it sounds a little bit muffled. It's only coming out the speakers. Oh, right, it doesn't on Teams. That's one to fix for the future then. Okay, I think I've got one other question, and that's from Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Leader. I'd also like to take the opportunity to commend everyone involved in the consultation and production of this document. It is very straightforward and easy to understand. I think the public will also appreciate that. Just one simple question. Following the launch of the consultation, would you be able to overview what the next key steps are for the budget?
Thank you, Councillor Hussain. Yes, as the consultation document outlines, we still have this remaining gap of about £2.6 million to find. So there's work to finalise the plans to close this gap, and it will continue into the new year. Of course, in November we heard the Chancellor's autumn statement, which overall was fairly positive for local government, but we are still awaiting the finer detail. These will be confirmed before Christmas in the local government settlement, and we'll be able to include these within our budget. The resulting impact from these, together with the feedback from the budget consultation, will be reported to joint scrutiny on the 23rd of January, and will then form part of the final 2023-24 budget report for Cabinet, which will be on the 13th of February, before going forward for approval by Council on the 22nd of February. Thank you. Cecilia, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Councillor Coles. Only to add that CLT meets weekly every Wednesday to explore further savings as well. So we do still do a lot of detailed work on finding further savings.
Great. I don't see any more questions from members, but I'll just bring in the Chief Executive at the moment to make a couple of comments about one or two items contained within the report. Matt, do you just want to highlight those?
Just firstly is, I suppose the questions around that level of uncertainty going forward, the questions have been around the gap, the 3-year position. I think what we've got here presented is we brought forward the consultation a month, which I think is really good. So I really applaud the team, the effort on that, because it's been a pretty pressured year. But I think it's something we constantly, every few months, are taking stock of where the gap is. And at the moment, things around children's social care, adult social care in particular, are a worry. And we don't yet have pinned down numbers from the government around the financial settlement. So we are trying to be prudent. We're being open and transparent around the budget principles work and how we guide decision making. But that's probably the one or two areas I would flag over the next 2-3 years. It accounts for roughly 70% of our budget around people services, and it's a real key area that we have to get right and make sure we have got sufficient reserves, which is why we're pushing up in the budget principles to push our reserve levels up, because they have been too low in the past. And also we are still trying to keep that mandate around trying to restrict that level of borrowing. But I do think over time we will be able to ease that, because we want to grow things like the economy, put investment plans in place, etc. And there's a lot of opportunity coming through for the city. So that was one key element. And I think the second one for me was just to applaud the finance team in particular and comms in pulling this together. It has been quite a volatile picture over the last few months around the financial position. The independent assurance panel, as Councillor Coles highlighted, has taken a very close eye on our approach around the budget, and it is to be applauded with the budget simulator and other approaches. But you can see the next 2 or 3 years, we still have significant gaps, and we need to work continually across all parties and with the corporate leadership team and finance colleagues to close that. And it's not easy, because it's such a volatile environment in which we're working at the moment. But overall, I'm very pleased with the progress being made across the organisation and the financial stability that we have now got in 12 months. It's now about maintaining that and now looking at the opportunities in line with our corporate strategy. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much. Before I move to the recommendations, just a couple of comments then. I'll echo what Matt was saying. The officers all involved have put a great deal of effort into pulling together this document, as they always do. So from the whole team working under difficult conditions, because everybody knows how tight we are for cash and budgets in terms of keeping it all together, keeping it on track. But it also should be noted, I think Ray made mention of it, that we are making significant progress towards achieving financial sustainability. And as Matt and a few others will know, even the minister watches our meetings. So if he's watching this morning, hello and thank you. I'm sure your team will be feeding back the information about what's happening here in Peterborough. But we're moving in a positive direction. So again, thanks to all the team, being led by Matt, of course, who doesn't praise himself, so I'll do it for him. And also, I'd like to thank the opposition leaders for their continued collaboration, particularly on the finance side of things, because I think we're all in this together, and we can't do it alone. So with that, I'll move to the recommendation for today, which is Cabinet approves the launch of the budget consultation to 23-24 from today, the 5th of December, and that will close on the 8th of January 2023. Are we all agreed? Agreed. Thank you, members. Just before I close today's meeting, Lynn Ayres has been trying to catch my eye since she walked up the stairs. Lynn, you've got some burning news you want to share, I believe.
Yes, I certainly have. It is because you will have noticed in the document itself how important education is seen by, through the simulator by a lot of our population. A lot of the public consider education to be one of the major priorities in this local authority. And we have reported a little bit already that we've gone up in the National League tables when it comes to our primary schools and special schools and also in our secondary schools, of course. But we've had another national result come in over this weekend. It's to do with a very singular matter, which is the Year 4 multiplication tables assessment, but it's a national assessment. And when I looked at the figures this morning to see that our young people in Year 4, the actual highest score you can get is 25, and they look at the percentage of pupils getting over that figure. And in every respect, in everywhere, with all of our children, and that's boys, girls, free school meal children, special educational support children, and education, health and care plan children, they have all exceeded not only Cambridgeshire, which is our neighbouring authority, of course, but the East of England and the national figures. So that is really, really excellent news for us. And it's been a long haul, of course, as we all know. It's been a 5 to 6 year haul to get education where it is. And that is owed to many, many people. The congratulations have got to go to the schools, of course, with the heads and the teachers and of course the pupils who did this and with the other tables where we've come out, we're moving up the scores, but also our local authority officers, because they have put such effort in, particularly over the COVID period. It's been really, really hard to get the children working hard during that time. And of course, the council itself put money into laptops. We asked for more money for laptops. That was achieved. So all in all, the whole thing has been a collaborative exercise. And I think that is where we have scored so highly, because the schools themselves collaborate across the board. And that's very, very important indeed. And I also want to say that I'm extremely proud of the education that's going on now in Peterborough. And it can only help our new area that I know our chief executive is extremely keen on, which is the business and regeneration team, where we want to holistically look at the whole of the city and regenerate it. Well, education will help to do that, together with, of course, our new university and also our colleges who are working hard as well to get good results. So all in all, a good news story. There'll be more of it coming out through comms. The details will be coming out through comms of all of these tables, but it is great news, I think, for Peterborough. Thank you.
I don't know what to say. Thanks for sharing that. Indeed, it was good news, and I'm sure the team will be pleased to accept the acknowledgement of how well they're doing. So that's great. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for attending this morning. I'll now call the meeting to a close and see you all in a bit.